youth, free time, money. Pick two.
Welcome to the Kingspiration Podcast. This is the place where you'll learn how to get unstuck and gain momentum in your life and business. Each week, we tackle the real aspects of entrepreneurship, personal development, relationships, and fitness. I'm your co-host, Ethan King, from Atlanta, Georgia, USA, entrepreneur, TEDx speaker, and best-selling author of Wealth Beyond Money.
And I'm your co-host, Justin King, no relation to Ethan, from Cape Town, South Africa, entrepreneur, speaker, and business growth strategist. Our journey crosses continents and cultures, sharing wisdom and experiences to propel you forward. Welcome to Kingspiration. Let's start the conversation.
Recently ran across this tweet or post from Alex Hormozi, and it says, youth, free time, money. Pick two. And I have a lot of thoughts about it, and I want to hear your thoughts, Justin, also. That's a pretty bold statement to make, and it stirs up a lot of thoughts and a lot of emotions. What is your take when you first heard that?
Youth, free time, or money. Pick two.
To be technical, it doesn't have the word or.
Or, okay.
It's just youth, free time, money, pick two.
Money, pick.
You can see it.
Youth, free time, money, pick two. Yeah, it's huge. Immediate thoughts, I want to pick three. And I think it's half the problem that we all have these days with regards to expectation. The expectation that, the expectation that we want to be able to work 3 hours a day on working in our area of purpose, which sometimes gets confused with a hobby, and then still have impact, make money, maintain your youth and health, so being able to train whenever you want. It's an interesting one for me, man. It brings up a lot of immediate thoughts around a lot of things that I've been listening to and reading recently. But if I had to pick two, I'll tell you my two that I would pick. I would go with youth and free time.
Okay, why is that?
Youth, because I'm nearing 40. And as you near 40, you cannot, I still feel 16, don't get me wrong, but you cannot turn back the clock. I like to think that I've looked after myself relatively well physically, but I look at some of the younger guys that are training these days, and it has to be impossible for me to keep up with them. So that's a physical point of view, but that also it translates into a lot of mental energy as well. And I've had that conversation a few times. Like when you're in your early, mid, and late 20s, you've just got this unbridled and unrestrained amount of energy that you can plow into a lot of things. And that can be late nights with friends and then bouncing back and into work the next day. And I mentioned Scott Galloway's name to you a little bit earlier when we were chatting, and he spoke about how when he was in his 20s, on a Tuesday, he would go to work at 9 a.m. in the morning, and he would stay at work until 6 p.m. Wednesday evening. That was what he used to do to get ahead. And he was like, that's what he could do in his 20s, and he wouldn't be able to do it now. So your youth brings with it, geez, man, just the energy to take on the world and the confidence and the I'm trying to think of the right word to use, then the naive confidence that you can literally do absolutely anything, which is amazing. And then free time is kind of my wiser self coming into the conversation at this stage, because you can almost work yourself into a bit of a trap. We always want so many things in our lives as we progress in our careers and we're progressing in our lives, but very often once you have all of those things, is it providing you the freedom that you want, or is it providing a constraint that you actually can't remove yourself from? And free time is just to be able to choose who to spend time with and what you want to spend it doing is an absolute blessing and worth huge sums of money, in my personal opinion. Again, you don't want to waste it. But the time, time is just something that none of us can get back. That is for sure.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, it made me think about a time when I remember when the business was in my house, in my basement, and we were making a lot of money in comparison to my lifestyle at the time. Didn't have any kids. I bought all this furniture for the house, all these flat screen TVs. I built like this theater that I call the Black Room. I painted the walls black. It's my man cave, or was my man cave before I had kids. But I never had any time to spend in the Black Room. And I remember my mom came over and she was like, "Oh, this is great. Congratulations. I'm sure you get to enjoy this room." And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, no, I don't have time to enjoy any of this because I was working so hard and I felt trapped in my business. And that's when it occurred to me, like, what good is a bunch of money if you don't have the free time to enjoy it? What, like, what, it does nothing for you. So, of course, my first answer to that, I left a comment under Hormozi's Instagram and I said, "You can have it all." Because that's my mantra, and I do believe that. But I think it's a spectrum, right? It's if I had to pick two, or if I had to prioritize them, I would say free time first, because if I have more time, then I can focus on my health and preserve my youth. I can make more money if I have more free time, right? So free time to me is the I guess like the linchpin that opens up the gates for the other ones. You'll never have to worry about it if you have a bunch of free time. But youth, to me isn't a number. Like I feel youthful now. So I feel like I'm in a stage in my life where I have all three. Yeah, sure. I don't have $100 million, but I have enough money to do what I want to do and live comfortably. So, and I have enough free time to enjoy the money. And even though numerically, somebody probably thinks I'm ancient, because when I was like 20, you're like, if you're 40, you're just ancient.
Yeah.
Like you're done.
Yeah.
But so now, and I just had another birthday too. So now I'm beyond ancient. But truth is, I feel like I have so much energy, like more. I feel I'm in better health now than I was at like 25. So I still have the youth, and you can hold on to that youth by, doing the right activities, eating the right things. So I believe that you can have all three of them. But I think where people go wrong is trying to chase after, while they are numerically young, trying to sacrifice everything else in pursuit of money, or like heaps of money, and like ignoring social stuff, not going out. Like, I believe young people should go out, have a good time. So those people say just put your nose down and grind and ignore everything else. Like, I'm not a big subscriber in that, because you can't really get those years back. Your peers will kind of move on. But then you also, I believe, you shouldn't go the other direction and just only live like a bohemian lifestyle and only focus on free time and ignore money. So while you have your numeric youth. So I think you do have to be mindful of designing the right type of lifestyle while you're young, where you can have all three, like preserve your youth by making time and being intentional about your health and your fitness, making a lot of money. So finding things that are lucrative that you actually enjoy doing, but also that doesn't suck up your free time. I had friends who graduated from college and went to work on Wall Street, and they had no free time. Like, they were being worked. They made a lot of money. Like, they came out making more than all the rest of their peers, but also the cost of living in New York was way higher. So their money didn't go as far, and they had no time to enjoy it because they had to be around the clock, like 24/7. So it burned them out very quickly, like within less than 2 years. Those are my thoughts around it, but I thought it was very thought-provoking.
Do you not think, though, it comes back to really expectation? And most of these tweets by Alex Hormozi and other individuals is really around provoking some sort of, it's meant to be thought-provoking, rather than a truth of you can only have two. It's the reality is the vast majority, I think, of people cannot expect to have all three at the same time, all the time. And it's the idea of managing expectations. Right, if you're wanting to get ahead, you are going to have to invest time. So even if it's for the short term, you are going to have to lean in and give up some of that free time to get ahead and get that money that you're wanting. Youth is probably the anomaly out of those three. It's slightly different and slightly nuanced, because I do believe that that's probably the best investment, and you've touched on it already. The best investment we can all make is into the continuous let's call it the continued management of our youth. And as you say, I think youth would just be feeling younger than you are on paper, and having that energy that you perhaps shouldn't, based on what the age says on paper. But I do like this idea of provoking thoughts, and then also creating some sort of constraints, and within that constraint, then you have to become quite innovative. So it's the same as in business. If we think about it, let's just use a simple example like allocation of resources, and resources could be people, could be budget. If you just throw masses of resources and masses of a budget at a particular problem, the team that's trying to solve for that problem, there's no real constraints or no real reason for them to be super innovative, because they can just try absolutely anything and spend endlessly and bring more people in and buy this and buy that. But if the resources that are allocated to solving a problem and the budget are super tight, you have to come up with wild solutions. You have to push the boundaries of what can be achieved. And in that same context, what can we do if those constraints and those boundaries, those budgets are set on our lives with regards to what you can allocate time to, or how much money you are theoretically going to earn if you're only allocating that much time. And okay, well, then we start marrying our expectations to the reality, but we also start pushing to what you've said, pushing ourselves to finding really smart ways to potentially have all three at the same time, which is where we want to be.
Yeah. But I totally agree. And I thank Alex for putting that out there, because hopefully, he has a big following, so that'll get more people at least thinking about this at an earlier stage in life, which is a great thing to do. I think it will push society forward. So he's one of the great philosophers of our time. I definitely respect him for that.
That's a wrap for today's episode of Kingspiration. We hope this conversation sparked insights to ignite action in your life and business.
We're on this journey together, sharing our challenges and successes to help all of us take the next step towards building momentum and ultimately reaching our goals.
If you found value in today's episode, please share it with someone else who might benefit, and leave us a 5-star review.
And remember to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on our weekly conversations. Until next time, keep rolling, keep growing, and keep being inspired.